even the sense of it, like outside of even the politics of it and everything else, and the the finances and the sense of inevitability that like Manchester City are going to win this league. I seen OptaStats today have a list of like the teams there, and it was like an 80%, 87% chance or something like that City were going to win the league. They're currently level on points with two teams, after 12 games. But we all share that sense of inevitability, and yet it is gripping at every turn at the moment, and it's getting deeper. I think you're right to point out like Palace and Everton. It was amazing because the amount of games that I've watched over the last year, this season in particular, last season, that I would have never watched before, that are on, like, the 5:30 game, Bournemouth and Newcastle. We were talking about it on Friday, actually. We were talking about how it wasn't that great a weekend, and I'm almost looking at it in relief, thinking, I won't bother Saturday night now. I ended up watching most of Bournemouth and Newcastle, and it was great. It was great, and it was a brilliant atmosphere at a good ground as well, that like, it really meant something to us. So I find it absolutely just enthralling and thrilling at the moment, I have to say.
Well, like, what's come with the money is just the way that the talent has been dispersed throughout the Premier League is definitely stronger across the board than I can ever remember. And you end up in a circumstance where clubs like Nottingham Forest can outbid some of the biggest clubs in Europe for talent. And you get someone like Iraola, who seemed very set for a big job, going to Bournemouth. And that's the strength that the Premier League has right now. And there's no league across Europe at the moment where I think you genuinely would feel that teams in the bottom 4 or 5 positions can actually beat the teams at the top with any kind of regularity. But that is now happening in the Premier League currently.
I'm not sure about that, though. Like Luton, for all I think, they've won one game this season. And I'm sure the teams down around there are about the same as well. I do think that's overblown a little bit, the competitiveness within it. It's not that different every year. It's just
or
like
in any other league, really.
Yeah, it's just kind of, I think there's a certain amount of just economic disparity that is across all the leagues that kind of goes that way.
United being top of the form chart while being absolutely dirt because of their run of fixtures, I think is a good example of that.
Do you not think, though, that the lower teams have a phenomenal standard of player all the same, compared with 15 years ago?
They do, but it's risen everywhere.
The teams at the bottom were just puke 15 years ago.
I'm
now
not
there's
sure
lots
about
of good
that,
players
though.
there.
So what was 15 years ago? I don't even know.
That Sunderland team who had a record-breaking margin of
but like
terribleness.
There's no Michael Chopras in this league. Is that what you're saying?
Kind of. I just remember when the Liga was like it, and Real Madrid were amazing. Even like Ronaldo, Real Madrid, a little bit then into the beginnings of the Barcelona brilliance. You'd watch the Liga games. It wasn't just Eamon Dunphy that could see them. We all saw them. You'd watch the Liga games, and just the right back wouldn't boot the ball away. And there was an intelligence and a kind of a technique on show that just wasn't in the Premier League. I remember them watching Premier League games frustrated because lads were still just booting the ball away. I think there's a far better.
Maybe. But like 15 years ago, English teams were the best teams in Europe.
Yeah.
Considerably, like without a shadow of a doubt, like and like that was from Man United Chelsea final.
Yeah.
And I know what you mean, but like, so I presume a lot of those Spanish guys, I didn't have Sky Sports, I wasn't watching them, but like I presume a majority of them were Real Madrid or Barcelona.
They were, but even like the Osasuna players were just of a slightly better level than was across a lot of the Premier League lower reaches. Whereas now I feel the lower reaches are all split centre halves, possession based football. Like, it's just gone to a level I never thought we'd get to.